Hi everyone, SpiderMan 1991 here, and it's time for my weekly comic book review. First off, from Image Comics, I had to get this issue. I have this issue digitally, so I'm going to be showing my iPad. Invincible number 101. This is pretty much the aftermath, like the aftermath epilogue type of issue that sets everything up for what's ahead in Invincible. Pretty much what happens is Mark and Eve decide to make plans for their baby, because last issue Eve announced told Mark that she was pregnant. So now they're making all the preparations. Mark's talking to Cecil about getting a medical attention they need for Eve's pregnancy. The doctor they get warns Eve that because her powers depend on what she eats, she can't use any of her powers while she's pregnant because it might affect the baby. And also Nolan, Mark's dad, aka Omni-Man, he makes a deal with Cecil about staying near Earth. And when I say near Earth, I mean Cecil pretty much says that he's got to have Omni-Man as an ally again, but he can't have him anywhere near the planet. So Nolan's pretty much banned from Earth, and he's staying in this former headquarters from the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is on the moon. And also the reason he's there is so that he can make sure that the Viltrumites, who are also staying near Earth, don't try anything. That in case they do, Nolan's the first line of defense. Overall, I think Invincible number 101 is a good aftermath issue. It's a great little lead into what might lie ahead with Eve and the pregnancy, and also it seems like the Viltrumites are going to be making a move pretty soon. I mean, that's what's implying from the issue, and also we are getting some feedback because of Mark's actions with dinosaurs. A lot of the heroes do not trust him. When he first appears to help out with the cleanup, Robot, he orders a ton of heroes just to attack Mark, but Cecil calls him off, and so we're going to be dealing with that. Yeah, I can't wait for what Invincible has to come. I would definitely recommend Invincible 101 to anyone who read the first 3 story arcs. I'd say stick with the series because it's awesome. Again, this is the only Image comic I get. Yeah, you probably can't get a good view of it because of the iPad and the camera, but here's the cover anyway. You can see it's by the way, if you can't really see it, but that's not Mark. That's Zandale, aka Bulletproof, aka Invincible 2. And also another thing I should point out, Mark wears the exact same costume as Zandale in this, so no idea what's going to happen there. Whether or not Zandale's going to go back to being Bulletproof, or whether or not Mark's going to go back to using the black and blue costume. Personally, I like the black and blue costume a lot better than the original costume. But overall, Invincible, great. You should definitely pick it up, especially if you read the last 3 issues, because if you didn't, then you will be a little lost with 101. Alright, now it's time for DC. Starting off with Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 18. Pretty much, Jason's recovering from the huge acid facial he had last issue. While he's recovering, he's sort of in this dreamlike stasis, and he's in this dreamlike state where he kind of like is going through this training from Dukra, his mentor, after he came back to life. He's kind of like he's kind of conflicted between letting go of his past with the Bat Family and also embracing he's pretty much conflicted with either he has to let go of one thing, either his past or his present, to help him move on from this. And it's very difficult, but then Bruce, who's been at his bedside this entire time, in his dream, he kind of gives him the encouragement to move on and not forget everything, but just kind of like, admit. Bruce says, like, we all make mistakes, but we have to move forward and make sure that we learn from them and stuff. And at the end of the issue, Jason wakes up and he and Bruce hug. So that was a very nice little aftermath here. It does say we get the Requiem tag on here, but there's really no reference to Damian's death in this. I mean, it is implied when during Jason's monologue where he says, like, Bruce is probably the last guy who should be using the word family, but I think that might be just more from Death of the Family rather than Death of Damian. But yeah, Red Hood and the Outlaws. I really like Scott LaBelle on this title, and he writes a good Jason Todd. And if you are a Jason Todd fan and you did read Death of the Family, I would definitely recommend you pick this up, because I think probably my favorite tie-ins for Death of the Family were probably the ones centered with Jason Todd. So yeah, that's something to think about. If you like Jason Todd and you did like Death in the Family, I would highly recommend you pick this up. Okay, next up, Nightwing, number 18. Again, this one has the Requiem teaser on it. Well, this one actually does reference Damian's death. Nightwing, pretty much, he's trying his best to move forward with Damian's death and everything. At first, it's like, he thinks to himself, like, okay, I've always moved forward from this, so it shouldn't be any different. But it cuts to a few days later, and Dick's he is not really in good shape. I mean, not terrible, but just not great. And then soon he gets called. Batman shows up in his loft and says, "Get dressed, I need your help with something." And he takes him to the dealer's auction, which, if you read the last issue of Nightwing, the dealer's men found one of the Flying Grayson's costumes. And it turns out, from the wreckage of the amusement mile, and it turns out it was Dick's dad's costume. So Batman brings Dick to the auction as Nightwing and tells him that he should probably get his dad's costume back. And Nightwing is able to go in, disrupt the auction, but unfortunately the dealer gets away, and also his dad's costume is destroyed because he had a choice whether to save the costume or save some of the bidders that were trapped in their bidding rooms or whatever. And there was a fire that's consuming the building, so he chose to save lives instead, and he doesn't regret that decision. And then pretty much afterwards, Dick, he has second thoughts about this, and he visits Damian's grave, and he says goodbye to Damian, and he also leaves the video game that he ordered for the both of them last issue too, just as a kind of sign of thanks for being in my life and stuff. And after Dick visits Damian's grave, he goes and talks to Sonia Branch about how he's been through a lot lately, and it's been a big deal for him. And unfortunately, Sonia has even more bad news, and it is probably the worst. The last person Dick Grayson would ever want to be alive is alive, and they're in Chicago. So that's why that's why Nightwing's going to be taking place in Chicago, starting with issue 19, I believe. Oh yeah, and I didn't want to say the name because it is a spoiler. If you don't want to be spoiled, then but trust me, if you read the final page of this, it's totally worth it. I mean, okay, this issue is awesome. Kyle Higgins is doing a great job on Nightwing since the very beginning. Also, the scene where he says goodbye to Damian, it's brilliant. It's well written. I would definitely recommend it to people who, have been feeling bad about Damian's death. Well, and, if you're a fan, and also, Damian even admitted right before he died that he and Dick were an amazing team. So if you love, and that did get a lot of feedback. Dick Grayson and Damian, back when they were Batman and Robin, was, a good relationship. And and if you are a fan of their brotherhood, then you should definitely check out this issue, because it's a good, and also because it is a good, kind of like Dick saying goodbye to Damian. It's beautiful, brilliant. You'll be moved. And also the last page about why Nightwing's going to Chicago, it's good. The last page really closed the deal for me, because I think a couple of issues ago in the Channel 52 last page thing or whatever DC's doing, they said that Nightwing was going to Chicago, and I was a little curious, wait, so is he just going to Chicago? And at first I thought it was just going to be because, he can't take any more in Gotham, so he's moving somewhere. But now we know the real reason, and it is even better than what I thought. I look forward to Nightwing's quest in Chicago. I really cannot wait for the next issue. This has been probably one of the best New 52 series that DC has to offer right now. I highly recommend it. If you haven't read Nightwing, start with the actually read this issue first, then start with the next issue, because this would be a good jumping on point right now. And well, next comic, Justice League number 18. The Justice League pretty much has a membership drive in this issue. You know, you do see a lot of heroes come up. You see Zatanna, Black Lightning, Nightwing even comes on at Batman's request. But in the end, though, they pretty much want to choose members who could devote full time to the League. And the new members are Element Woman, Firestorm, and the Atom, who is not Ray Palmer nor Ryan Cho. Am I saying his name right? Oh, it's not the last two guys. It's a new Atom whose name is Rhonda Pinda. Oh man, I have terrible handwriting, so if I'm wrong, please say something in the comments. And she's a student. Anyways, Rhonda is a student at Ivy University, so there's obviously some relation that could go back to Ray Palmer. Yeah, so you know, so we got some new members, good. And also, right after they pick the new members, Cyborg discovers that someone who was on the probably one of the potential candidates, who was on their satellite, hacked into their files and stole the 5-year history of the League. And that's where the issue ends. And also the Shazam co-feature continues in this. In the Shazam co-feature, all that happens is Billy's foster brothers and sisters figure out that he's Shazam, and they go find him at the Fawcett Zoo talking to Tawny the Tiger, and also Black Adam Dr. Savannah meets with Black Adam with the 7 Deadly Sins as recruited. So that's what happens. All I can say about the Shazam co-feature is it's moving by. It's very, very slow paced. Justice League number 18. I'm glad that we're getting some new members. In a way, I hope we don't lose like all the big guys like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. But also there was a teaser at the last page saying that that the next issue is gonna be the prequel to the Trinity War crossover. So I'm looking forward to the Trinity War crossover. But as far as the whole membership drive issue goes, it was okay. It wasn't exactly woohoo big deal. Well, it was okay, but just not a big deal. And also, I am curious about the new members, particularly the new Atom. I want to know more about her, like how she got her powers, and whether or not it is related to Ray Palmer or not. So, you know, can't wait. And also, who stole the 5-year history? That's what I'm curious about. So, I'm still gonna keep getting Justice League. If you and also this is probably a good jumping on point if you haven't read this title yet. All right, next up, Justice League of America number 2. What happened? Pretty much the League, the JLA has a press conference, and President Obama introduced them all to the world. Well, except Catwoman, because technically she's still a felon. So pretty much everyone except Catwoman is introduced as the new JLA. And also, I want to point out one more thing. Simon Boz, he's not in this issue. Apparently, according to Amanda Waller, he's off-world. So, yeah, not off to. So my guess is this relates to what's going on in the Green Lantern titles with Wrath of the First Lantern and everything. Anyways, the JLA gets introduced to the public, and also the Secret Society watches the press conference as well, and decide to make preparations for what's going to happen. Also, Green Arrow wakes out of his coma with some help from the Martian Manhunter, and when Green Arrow asks like what's going on, Steve Trevor says, "I'm taking the JLA to go attack the Secret Society." Arrow's like, "Okay, I'll come with you." And he says, "No, you're not on the team." And Green Arrow's like, "Wait, what? Why not?" And Steve Trevor says, "They're all filled up." Really, Steve? That's your excuse? One guy's even gone, so you have an opening. And well, anyways, after Steve leaves the hospital, he takes the JLA with him to to investigate where they extracted Green Arrow, which was pretty much the area where the secret society was. And they investigate, and when they do, they get attacked by Professor Ivo's android versions of Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. And that's where the issue ends. Also, we begin a Martian Manhunter co-feature that introduces Martian Manhunter, and it kind of acts as a sort of prequel for the Martian Manhunter character about what he was doing right before the press conference. So that was a little interesting, but the main story was okay. I mean, I liked the dialogue between some of the characters. Particularly, one of my favorite scenes was when in the beginning, where it's like all the League members show up, and they've got their table with like the different logos on the chairs, and Vibe sits down. Then Hawkman sits down, and he's covered in blood, and he slams his mace on the table, and Vibe's like, "You're covered in blood," and Hawkman just says, "Not my blood," and Vibe just like lifts up his chair and moves to the side away from him. That was funny. That was really funny, and also I like Green Arrow's reaction to why he's not on the team. Just like, it's filled up. Like, wait, what? I mean, come on, really, Trevor? You're gonna let this guy go, try and infiltrate the secret society, and you don't give him a spot on your Justice League? Yeah, that's fair. It's really fair. Yeah, well, you know, obviously Green Arrow will be on the team at some point. Okay, he was advertised with them, so you know, I'm curious about to see what finally lets Steve Trevor put Green Arrow on the team, and whether or not Simon Boz is actually ever going to appear in this book yet. But so far, we're continuing the first story arc. I like it a lot. I can't wait to see where this goes and how this leads into the big Trinity War. So if you read the first issue, then I recommend you continue reading this series because it seems to be the start of something great. Alright, and now for Action Comics number 18, the conclusion to Grant Morrison's run on this title. Alright, what happened? Alright, Superman is able to defeat Vindictix by getting every single person on Earth to say their name backwards. So it's kind of like how he has to defeat Mr. Mxyzptlk by getting Mixie to say his name backwards, except now everyone on Earth has to, and they pretty much banish Vindictix back to the 5th dimension. And with Vindictix gone, Super Doomsday, the creature he was possessing, starts to go into self-destruct sequence, but Superman flies him off into space and he explodes there and everyone's safe. That is pretty much what happens in this. Alright, the end. Alright, the way Superman defeated Vindictix, which was getting every single person to kind of like say their name backwards at once, it reminded me of the third series finale for Doctor Who, when the Doctor was able to like get every single person on Earth to think of one single thought and at the same time, so that he could get back to his normal self and defeat the Master. That's what it reminded me of. But I mean, really, I kind of just laughed when I heard that because it seemed a little ridiculous. And well, this just wasn't really the finale that lived up to my expectations. I'll say that. It's not to say that I thought Grant Morrison's run on Action was bad. I did enjoy the first half of it with, you know, Superman 6 years ago with the t-shirts and the jeans. I liked the first story arc. I did like that, but afterwards everything just kind of got downhill for me. So if anyone ever asks me, like, you know, how was Grant Morrison's run on Action, I'll just say, read the first trade, you can stop there. Because, well, I was excited when I heard Grant was going to be writing this book at the start of the New 52, but now I really should have lowered my expectations. And really, at $5, this issue is $5, so I would say it's not worth the cover price. If you can, actually no, I think it's probably the same way digitally, so I'd say just, you know, skip it. Alright, now it's time for Marvel. So at this point, some of my comics, I ran out of boards, so they might be a little limp when I hold them up, but try bear with me here. I'm going to get some more in time for next week. Captain America, number 5. Steve and Ian are making their way back to Zola City to found the Franks, the species that's been helping Steve and Ian, and his army's going to attack them. Steve and Ian fight back most of Zola's army, but then Zola releases the captains of Zolandia, which were like these Captain America type clay monsters, and they're able to fight them. But then Jezebel Jet, Zola's daughter and Ian's sister, joins in the fight, and she fights Captain America, and she also discovers that Ian's alive, which, you know, shocks her, and she also tells Zola, which makes Zola very angry. And when Zola orders Jet to kill, and suddenly Jet fights Cap, but Cap is able to throw her off balance, hold her down, and he orders Ian not to kill her, but to keep a close eye on her. But then Zola appears. He starts attacking Captain America, gets him to a cliff, and then he orders Jet to kill him. But Jet kind of really doesn't want to. Is starting to question her father's actions because Cap had the chance to kill her, but he didn't. So, you know, she's kind of starting to wonder whether or not he's actually the monster her father said he was. And of course, Zola doesn't listen, so he just blasts Cap with a cannon. Steve Rogers falls off the cliff, and Zola, Jet, and Ian head back to Zolandia. And right when Steve wakes up, in the chasm of the cliff or whatever, he grabs a knife, and while he wakes up, the Zola infection in him, it's taunting him, and he pretty much, and this was just the big badass moment for Steve Rogers right now. He grabs the knife, and he pretty much cuts himself so that he can bleed out the Zola infection, and then he declares that he's gonna get his son back. I mean, that was just pretty. I mean, when I saw those last few pages, I was like, wow, that's really hardcore, man. Yeah, the last page of Captain America, very nice. I really do like. This is shaping up to be a great story arc. I really hope Ian's able to stay for the rest of the book, especially after this story arc, because I like the kid. I like seeing Steve, you know, defend this kid, because he even says during the fight with the monologue and everything, he thinks back to his other wards, Bucky, with Bucky and Nomad. Not when I say Nomad, I mean the second Nomad, not his other identity. But he thinks back yeah, they were all my sidekicks, but Ian's my son, and so that was just a really cemented moment for me. Okay, this is different. This definitely means that Ian is different from Bucky, because Steve actually loves this kid, so he's not going to let anything bad happen to him. And I cannot wait to see what Steve does to Zola in the next issue. Alright, moving right along. Avengers number 8. More about, pretty much, info about the Star brand and the White event is told. It's just talking, really. This whole Star branded White event story arc has been pretty slow paced. I mean, the only exciting thing happens at the end, which is when the new Adam takes the kid who's the new Star brand back to Mars to see Ex Nihilos. That's the only exciting thing. I mean, really, I hope this is going somewhere great, but it really seems very slow paced right now. So I'd say if you were looking for an issue to skip this week, I would go with Avengers, because nothing really interesting happens other than the last page. That's the only reason why. Okay, next up, Daredevil number 24. Matt Murdock, he's doing his best to try balance everything. He has to be there for Foggy because Foggy has cancer, and he's currently going through treatment to try to help him. Also, he has to manage the law firm by himself. Good news is Matt, one little thing is out of his life, which is he and Kristen McDuffie agree not to see each other anymore. So there's a mutual breakup. After Matt, and pretty much one day at the office while Matt's working, a crate of like rabid dogs show up, and it's the dogs that were used as the test subjects before the prisoners were from the last issue, and they start attacking people. Matt's able to get everyone out of the office, and he knocks them all out using the fire alarm because dogs are sensitive to sound, and after he gets Hank Pym to help him clean up, he goes back to Foggy's hospital room and he waits there. Then suddenly he gets a visitor who was apparently one of the test subjects from the people who were trying to recreate Daredevil's accident, saying that he comes to see Matt and tells him that I know who's behind this and I can take you to them, and that's where this issue ends. Okay, one of the main positive things I think about this issue is Mark Waid is doing a great job writing the Foggy has cancer story arc. That is an amazing story arc. I think it's really letting you see how strong Matt and Foggy's friendship is during this whole incident, and it's also a good point to focus on Matt's life too, because right now he has to be. This is a time where he really needs to be there for his friend, but he can't ignore his responsibilities as Daredevil, especially now since someone's trying to recreate the accident and they're trying to get him. So, this is a really great story arc going on. I mean, Daredevil is an awesome series. If you're not reading this, you should definitely start picking this up. I'd say go back to Daredevil number 22, which was when Foggy told Matt he has cancer, and that's where it pretty much led into this point. So probably go back to 22, read all of those, and then start reading Daredevil. Trust me, this has been a great series. You will not be disappointed. Okay, next up is All New X-Men number 9. What happened? Okay, Kitty takes the original X-Men through a danger room scenario where Sentinels attack Times Square. They do not do so well. The X-Men, not the Sentinels. Anyway, so after their session ends, Jean, who's been abusing her telepathy. Yeah, I think abuse is the right word, because she's been going into people's minds without their permission. And she goes through Scott's mind. Keep in mind, whenever I do All New X-Men, I refer to the original X-Men in their civilian names, and I refer to their present-day selves by their code names. So she goes into Scott's mind, and she discovers that Scott met Mystique, and she immediately asks Scott who's Mystique, and red light goes in Kitty's head, and she suddenly starts asking Scott what happened, what went on, what did you and Mystique talk about, and that's pretty much how it is for Scott and Kitty for the rest of the issue. While this is going on, Mystique and Sabretooth head to a supervillain prison where they break out Lady Mastermind. And also back at the school, Angel talks to Beast about what's going on and how Beast said he was trying to prevent mutant genocide, but yet that really hasn't happened yet. So Angel's asking Beast a lot of questions, and again, Kitty's still trying to get Scott to reveal more about his meeting with Mystique, but everything is cut short when the Jean Grey school gets a visit from the Uncanny X-Men. Yeah. So that's where this issue ends. All I can say is during the issue itself, it felt, pretty. Well, we got a little taste of what Mystique and Sabretooth are planning. Apparently, Apparently, according to Mystique, all they want to do now is just get a ton of money and get rich. That's it. Everything else, what's going on with Mystique, and again, what went on with Warren and Beast, and also Scott and Kitty. And again, we're still getting some tease about what's going on with Jean, and she keeps abusing her telepathy. We saw last issue when she pretty much erased Warren's memory. Then what's going on now, I think that is eventually going to come back to haunt her and maybe get the other X-Men worried that they could be dealing with another Dark Phoenix incident. And also the last page of this was really amazing because with the Uncanny X-Men appearing, I really cannot wait to see what the original X-Men are going to do now. Next issue at least. Sorry. But All New X-Men is a really nice series. I would recommend it to people who are fans of the original X-Men. to give it a shot, and particularly Jean Grey fans, since she seems to be at least she seems to be the most highlighted X-Men out of the 5. Okay. All right, now for one of my favorite Marvel title, The Superior Spider-Man. And this is kind of like a little interlude issue to what's going to happen. That's going to lead to the whole story arc with the Avengers next month. Pretty much after I'd say C-level supervillains Screwball and Jester pull a webcast prank on Mayor Jameson. Jameson calls in the Superior Spider-Man and asks him to bring them in. Of course, at first Spider-Man's like, no, it's a waste of my time. But then when Jonah keeps bringing up, how they're just pretty much pulling pranks on people, it kind of gets to Otto because he used to be bullied as a child. Again, another similarity he has to Peter Parker. But apparently Otto never really moved on from it. Because when Otto goes to meet with his tutor in physics, Anna Marie, and also his teacher, Dr. Lamaze, he sees that some people have made fun of some guys are making fun of Anna Marie because she's a little person, and right when he leaves because his spider app locates Screwball and Jester, he apparently threw the bullies in the back of their car, then crushed the car. Trust me, when you read the issue and you see it happen, it's a lot more brutal than the way I tell it. And the next thing we know, Spider-Man finds Screwball and Jester, and at first he goes a little easy on them, but then when they start like throwing paint-filled balloons at him, and start laughing, he loses it. Otto just beats the living crap out of him. Pardon my language, but that's exactly what happens. And while this is going on, they're still broadcasting this across the internet, and you get to see like different people seeing it. Like, I mean, you see Mary Jane shocked. You see Jameson going, yeah, and apparently the Avengers are watching too. And also before the actual webcast, we do see the Avengers talking to each other, saying like, okay, Spider-Man's changed. Has been a lot more edgier lately, and after the events of Massacre, do we really want him on the team? And Wolverine sticks up for Spider-Man. He says like, oh, come on, when have any of us ever done something like that? Okay, I think we should give him a chance. But then after the webcast, when, Jester and Screwball, they're not really much of threats, and he just pretty much treats them like he's beating up, the Hobgoblin. And, that's when Wolverine sees it, and he says, okay, call him in. And that's where the issue ends. And also, Peter, who's, again, a ghost, he's living through the memory. He's kind of living through Otto's memory, so he's seeing, like, Otto dealing with bullies as a kid. And then when he, like, sees what Otto did to Screwball and Jester, he's like, what have you done? And, very shocked. So remember, kids, the moral of the story is, if you're a bully, the Superior Spider-Man will come and beat you into a coma. Alright, well, again, right now, the direction that Superior Spider-Man's going in, it's clearly shown us that Otto is definitely a harder Spider-Man. Like, he's willing to be very brutal with criminals and not give them the benefit of the doubt or anything like that, but just really nail it to him. Because in his eyes, because I think in Otto's eyes, it's all pretty much, okay, well, I guess not black and white, but also, unlike Pete, and I did note this, but Otto and Peter are similar in that they both dealt with bullies while growing up. However, Peter was able to move past that. He became Spider-Man. He could have used his powers to go back and beat them up, but he didn't. He decided to do something positive and take care of them. But Otto, on the other hand, he hasn't moved past that, so now he just wants to make them pay. Yeah, big time. Superior Spider-Man, still a great series. I really recommend people give it a shot. Next issue, we are going to get into what happens with the Avengers, and from what it's applying is that Spider-Man might get kicked off the team. So I'm really looking forward to that, about whether or not Spider-Man gets kicked off the Avengers. I hope he doesn't, but if he does, that might be the final straw where Peter starts fighting back. Okay? That's my theory. Alright, that's everything. A quick little recap. Superior Spider-Man number 6. Otto deals with Screwball and Jester while also dealing with some childhood issues. All New X-Men number 9. Jean continues to abuse her telepathy. Kitty's wondering what's going on, what happened with Cyclops and Mystique, and the Uncanny X-Men appear. Daredevil number 24. Mark Waid is doing a great job on this series. Highly recommend this. Give it a shot. It's great. Avengers number 8. Nothing but talking. Pass if you want. Captain America number 5. Captain America's son is taken, but at the end of the issue, he swears to get him back. Really nice. Can't wait for the next issue. Action Comics number 18. Grant Morrison's run unfortunately does not go out with a bang, but a small whimper. Justice League number 2. Really liking this series. Can't wait to see how so far I'm liking the first story arc. Can't wait to see this team interact with the Justice League during Trinity War. Justice League number 18. We get some new members, and apparently the satellite was hacked. Can't wait to see what comes next from the new members, and again, I'm kind of looking forward to Trinity War. Nightwing number 18. This continues to be one of my favorite DC comics. I highly recommend you check this out if you are planning on reading Nightwing in the future, because right now this is a good jump on point. Red Hood and the Outlaws number 18. Probably the best aftermath you get from Death in the Family. Can't wait to see what happens. Unfortunately, Scott LaBelle is going to be leaving after the next 2 issues. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get the next 2 issues, but I do like Scott LaBelle, but Scott LaBelle does a good job writing Red Hood. And Invincible number 101. Sorry about the lighting, but nice little aftermath issue for what happened in 98 to 100. Can't wait to see what comes next for Invincible, especially since Mark and Eve are having a baby. So that's everything for my comic review this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. SpiderMan 1991 saying see you later.